Picture the last back that actually stopped you mid-scroll. Not wide lats, real depth, shadows cutting across it under gym lighting. Here's the part that's going to annoy you. That back was not built with 7 exercises on back day. When researchers strapped EMG sensors onto trained lifters to see which movements actually fire the back the hardest, only 2 came out on top, and everything else you've been grinding through wasn't even close. Stick around because by the end, you'll know exactly which 2 plus 1 bonus move worth adding. Exercise 1. The bent-over dumbbell row. Between and under your shoulder blades sit 3 muscles most people never train on purpose: mid-traps, lower traps, and rhomboids. These build the stacked, layered look you notice when someone turns sideways. They respond to one action: scapular retraction, pulling your shoulder blades together against load. The EMG rankings for mid-trap activation put bent-over rows, seated rows, and inverted rows at the top. But the real surprise, when researchers pitted barbell rows against dumbbell rows directly, the 2-arm bent-over dumbbell row won for mid-back activation. Each arm gets a longer, more natural path with no bar hitting your torso to cap the range early. There's also a fatigue math problem most lifters ignore. Heavy barbell rows tax your spinal erectors just to keep your torso locked in place. Fine on its own, but you're also squatting and deadlifting that week. Bracing a hand on a bench while rowing single arm pulls almost all the load off your lower back, so the tension goes where you actually want it. Elbow path changes everything here too. Flare it out toward your chest and you shift work onto your rear delts and traps. Drive it straight back along your ribs toward your hip and you load the lats and mid-back directly, the line that actually builds depth. And skip the ego lifting. Heaving the dumbbell up with body English robs the exact muscles you're trying to grow. Pause hard at the top with blades squeezed together, then lower under control until you feel a real stretch at the bottom. Squeeze to stretch every rep. That's the cycle that builds visible thickness. Breathing matters more here than people think. Exhale through the pull, right as your elbow drives back and your shoulder blade locks in. That's the moment you want maximum tension, and a controlled exhale helps you actually brace into it instead of just yanking the weight up. One extra detail worth flagging: grip often fails before your back does on heavy rows. If your forearms are giving out before your lats feel it, that's not your back reaching its limit. That's your grip capping the set early. Straps aren't cheating here. They let the actual target muscle take the tension it's supposed to. Foot and torso position matter too, and this is where a lot of people quietly sabotage themselves. Stand too upright and the row turns into a shrug. Get your hips back, chest angled toward the floor at roughly 45 degrees, and keep that angle locked for the entire set. If your torso keeps rising rep after rep, that's momentum doing the lifting instead of your back. The bridge, different plane, different job. Exercise 2, the pull-up. You already know this one. What you don't know is you're probably only getting half its value. EMG data doesn't play favorites here. Across a set of studies comparing 8 of the most common back builders, pull-ups, lat pull-downs, seated rows, bent-over rows, inverted rows, TRX rows, pull-ups came out on top for lat activation every single time. In one dataset, lat recruitment during a pull-up spiked past 117% of maximum voluntary contraction, meaning the muscle worked harder mid-rep than during a maximal isometric squeeze. Nothing else on the list got close. Why? 2 words: range and stretch. Hang from the bar and your lats are at their absolute longest. Pull yourself up, and they shorten through a far bigger arc than a seated pull-down ever allows, where the cable path and your hips cap the range early. Grip talk gets overblown. Chin-ups nudge the biceps a bit more, pull-ups shift slightly more onto the lower traps, and a wider grip edges out a narrow one by a margin too small to matter. Pick what feels clean on your shoulders and elbows, and stop overthinking it. Here's the actual mistake killing people's back growth: partial reps. Jumping to the bar, skipping the dead hang, and grinding out the top 2/3. The bottom of the rep, full arm extension, is where the lats are stretched hardest and where the growth signal is loudest. Lower all the way down, let your arms fully straighten, then pull from that stretch. That's where width gets built. There's a second mistake almost as common: kipping without realizing it. A little body sway to save a rep at the end of a hard set is fine, but using momentum from rep 1 just to move faster through the range means your lats never actually reach peak tension. Slow the whole rep down, especially the top, and hold that final inch for a beat before you descend. No pull-up strength yet? No problem. Grab the bar, hang for a second, and pulling yourself up feels impossible. That's most beginners and most older lifters. It doesn't mean the movement isn't for you, it means you need a ramp. The lat pull-down trains the same lats, biceps, and lower traps at a lower overall demand, since you're not moving full body weight. Load it for 8 to 12 clean reps. Start every rep from a full stretch at the top and build from there toward band-assisted pull-ups or a counterweight machine. Your lats don't know if the resistance is a bar or a cable stack. They only know tension and stretch. Hip hinging through a bent-over row can also be a bad time for anyone with lower back wear. The chest-supported row fixes that. Set an incline bench to 45 degrees, lie face down, and row 2 dumbbells toward your ribs. Your spine is fully supported, so the tension goes straight into the mid-traps, rhomboids, and lats, with almost none of the lumbar load. Research on chest-supported rows shows near identical upper back activation to standing versions. This isn't a downgrade, it's a smarter door-in. If even a supported row feels like too much shoulder strain on a given day, a seated cable row with a neutral grip is a fine substitute. Just keep the same cue, drive elbows back and squeeze, rather than letting the handle drift up toward your chest. Bonus exercise: the straight arm pull down. Here's the move most people skip that quietly finishes the job. Pull-ups and rows both bend the elbow, which means the biceps and forearms sneak in and take some of the workload. The straight arm pull-down removes them from the equation entirely. Stand facing a cable stack, arms extended, and drive the bar down toward your thighs while keeping your elbows locked at a slight bend the whole time. No elbow flexion means the lats are doing nearly all of the work, isolated and under constant tension from the top of the stretch to the bottom of the contraction. This isn't a replacement for either main lift. Think of it as the finisher. Add it after your rows and pull-ups when your grip and biceps are already fatigued, but your lats can still take more. The actual formula: movement pattern beats exact exercise every time. Horizontal pull for thickness, vertical pull for width, whether that's a heavy row or a chest-supported one, a strict pull-up or a pull-down. And the volume number that surprises people: 2 working sets per main lift, 4 total sets for your entire back per session before you even touch the bonus move. Not warm-up sets, sets taken to within 1 or 2 reps of failure, where the last rep is genuinely in question. Most people do 5 or 6 sets and never once reach that intensity. 1 true set beats 3 comfortable ones every time. Stop overcomplicating back day. If this saved you some wasted sets, drop a comment with which one surprised you most, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.